Hi guys. When I first came to Poland many years ago, maybe even before some of you were born, it was a completely different country, a completely different way of life. And when I arrived in Poland from London, the first thing I noticed, there were thousands and thousands of little Fiat Malos everywhere, driving all over the road. There were no big new Mercedes, there were no big new Porsches, not even Fords. Just Malo, Fiat Malo 126 everywhere. People were pushing them, families are in them. And one of the cars that I saw was a Trabant. And a Trabant, I think, was given by East Germany to Poland as a kind of joke, I think. A Trabant, I believe it was made of plastic or something, but it was a particular kind of body. But there were Trabants everywhere. And the roads had holes as big as this. There were holes in the road. You had to drive around them. And it was really a completely different country compared to what it is today. And if I wanted to phone home, I had to go to the post office and I had to get a card, and there were all these telephones in kiosks. So you buy your card, go into the kiosk, and you'd have to put your card in and phone to England. Nowadays, of course, we pick up the mobile phone and we can phone in 2 seconds. Another thing that you couldn't do years ago is you could drink the tap water. Now in Poland, I drink tap water every day. They've invested a lot of money in the new sewerage, the new filter system. And I never buy bottled water. I drink tap water. It's perfectly good. If you do a comparison, tap water in Poland is fantastic. I never buy bottled water. But in the past, when I first came here, a long time ago, you couldn't drink tap water, you had to boil it. Now, one thing that surprised me when I came here was toilet paper for many different reasons. Now, the toilet paper is quite a funny story because when I first arrived, it was a long time ago, and I stayed at this flat, and in the toilet there was sort of this grey, very rough toilet paper, and the guy had even cut some newspapers into squares, and the toilets was a very sort of dark brown colour. And if you had to go to a public toilet, which you did at the train station, there'd be a lady there smoking a cigarette. You pay your money, and she would give you 1, 2, 3 pieces of toilet paper, which was so rough, and you paid for the number of toilet papers. That was a long time ago, particularly in train stations. And what you had to do, you had to pay for the toilet, which was something that nowadays you just go anywhere, go to a restaurant, go to a bar, and you can just use the toilets. In the past, when you wanted to cross the road on the crossings, you'd stand there, the cars would go by again. They would never stop for you. Now, completely different. It's completely different. When I stop now, all the cars stop. I say thank you and go across. But in the old days, you took your life in your hands when you had to stop. Now, when I first came to Poland, I saw big advertisements, big billboards of young people on Wrangler cars smoking cigarettes with white teeth. Now, I'd never seen that before, only in old American movies. And smoking was everywhere, in the pubs, in the clubs. Do you remember smoking in the offices, smoking in restaurants? Can you believe today how hardly anybody smokes? Hardly anybody at all. Yet in the past, every club, every pub, you would go home and your hair stank of smoke. Your clothes would stink of smoke. Your eyes would be watering. Now, it's almost impossible to imagine that. So Poland now, completely different country, obviously to the benefit, to advantage. Blondie jokes. Everybody was doing blondie jokes. For some reason, there was this idea that blondes were silly, blah, 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 and there was lots of blondie jokes. And now, you never hear them, thank God. Things have changed. The new generation has a different kind of mentality. There's no blondie jokes anymore. But in the past, they were everywhere. When I used to work at the university, and I used to go to the cafe to buy a coffee, they used to serve the coffee in a glass. Now, if you were lucky, the glass would have a container, and you could drink the coffee like this. But if you were unlucky, then there was no holder, and they would just literally give you a glass with a coffee. It was called Turkish coffee, and the first thing I had a problem was how do you hold the glass? How do you drink the coffee? And I would have to get a serviette, put that around the coffee and hold it and drink it. Now, it was Turkish coffee, which was actually ground coffee in a glass with boiling water, and it was this thick. I'd never seen this before in my whole life. this was called Turkish coffee. So you had to stir it, let it settle, finally it was settled to the bottom, and then you could drink it, but you had to hold the glass, which was very hot, so a serviette or a plastic container like that. But that was my first experience of drinking coffee, something very, very unusual for me, and quite humorous in some ways. Now, on the tables at the university, in the bars, they would have sugar in bowls and salt in bowls, and the idea was you put your finger into the salt and you would do that. Now, I thought that the salt was sugar. So one day I was talking to somebody and I put my finger into the salt and put it into my coffee thinking it was sugar, or I think I used a spoon, because I wasn't used to having a salt in a bowl. Normally the salt was in a shaker, but in those days it was literally in a bowl. And of course I drank my coffee, and to my horror it tasted completely salty. And my friends who were with me they thought it was very funny that I would put salt into my coffee, but I learned the lesson very quickly. Now, milk bars were everywhere. They were amazing. A milk bar, you go to a milk bar, all the food would be served out there. You got your tray, 5 zloty, you could eat really good Polish food there. They were everywhere, milk bars were. And then they disappeared over the years, which is quite sad, and they were replaced by kebab bars, which I think is really sad, because the milk bars were great, and I would spend a lot of my time eating good Polish food in the milk bars. But luckily, in the last 2 or 3 or 5 years, they've made a revival, and milk bars are coming back. And I'm a great believer in eat local, eat Polish, eat the milk bars, good value money, great food. Pizza. Polish pizza years ago was something very different to what it was today. Polish pizza was almost like folded over, it was quite thick. And they didn't use tomato, they used ketchup on it, which maybe is why today Poles put ketchup on their pizza, which I still find a little bit strange, but you know, it's a free world. But yeah, Polish pizza was kind of folded over, and the ketchup was on top. When I first came here, the English language was very new. People had been learning Russian, German, and English was something that the generations wanted to learn. And so native speakers were very in demand, and people wanted to suck in the English language and learn it. Now today, the level of English in Poland is very high. If you go to Krakow, if you go to Gdańsk, everybody, or most people, speak English. So it shows, again, over the years, how it's changed with newer generations. There were no supermarkets years ago. If there were, they were not very appealing, not very inviting. Now supermarkets are bigger. I'm not sure if that's positive or negative, but certainly over the years, the big supermarkets have come here, Intermarché, Carrefour, Tesco's, the big supermarkets. And but that wasn't possible years ago. So that's very different, but again, I'm not sure if that's positive or negative. You tell me at the bottom in the comments what you think. And shopping centres, of course, shopping centres have been built up everywhere. Huge shopping malls in America, as they call them, shopping centres in England. They're selling everything. I don't know what you think. Do you prefer the small shops like the past, or do you like the new shopping centres? So these are some of the changes that have happened over the years here in Poland that I've noticed. Some are good, some maybe not so good. Give me your opinion. What do you think? And what have I missed out? I mean, it was a long time ago, and you know, maybe it was even before some of you were born, or maybe some of you can remember things from the past that are different now that you want to tell me about. So in the comments below, tell me what you think. Do you think Poland is a better place now? Do you like the new changes? People didn't have mobile phones in the past. There was no internet. Now we have access to everything. What do you think? Are things better now? Is life better now? Or do you think maybe some things were better from the past? Please write in the bottom. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. This is Peter Dow. I'm an Englishman in Poland. Have a great day.